Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is a video to compare the Razer Basilisk Ultimate with Logitech's G502 Lightspeed. These are two interesting and similar gaming mice from Razer and Logitech that are interestingly comparable, and both wireless, both high specs, and both quite tasty. Now, I've unboxed both these mice previously, and I'll link to those unboxing / reviews in the description so you can check them out and get a close-up of both mice and a bit more in-depth overview of them. But I wanted to talk to you about the differences between the two and the similarities, because they both offer high specs in terms of both having 11 customizable buttons, sideways clickable mouse wheel, textured mouse scroll that can be adjusted, a textured ergonomic grip for right-handed gamers, and more. And they're both very expensive, uber powerful, interesting and highly customizable mice that are really good fun to play with. Razer Basilisk Ultimate is the most recent mouse that I've seen, and this is a powerful little bit of kit that tops out with 100 hours of battery life if you're not using the RGB lighting, and as I said, has 11 programmable buttons with a highest DPI of 20,000, which is 4,000 more than the G502 Lightspeed. You'll also see the Basilisk Ultimate comes with a little charging dock so that you can dock it and charge it when it's not in use. That charging dock also has RGB lighting on the underneath, as well as this nice little rubberized outer layer that means it stays put on the desk and doesn't move around, which I really like. It has a little sort of sticky texture to it, and it doesn't move when you're using it and plugging it in, so it's great. You can see there's a USB port on there as well, so you can plug in the wireless dongle that comes with the Basilisk Ultimate, so that you don't need two plugs on your PC in order to keep this bad boy working and charging. Makes a very convenient setup and easy to use, relatively easy to dock. There's a couple of metal pins on the bottom, and then you just plop the mouse down on top of it. As I said, that charging base then plugs into your PC via a micro USB, although you can plug the mouse in directly if you want, and that's one of the points that Razer makes, that this comes with this braided cable that's super slick and doesn't catch on the desk. You'll note underneath there's quite similar design in both these mice. They have a very similar shape and look and feel to them. Underneath the G502 Lightspeed you have the power button, PTFE feet that are ultra slick, same on the Razer, so it moves on the desk really easily and on any gaming surface. One thing that you will note is different in a second is the G502 has a little housing, and I'll show you what goes on in there in a minute. And the Basilisk Ultimate has a little housing for its USB dongle here, so you can store it when you're not using it, or if you want to take it with you out of the house somewhere else, then you can store it away and be sure not to use it. It's 2.4 GHz wireless, and a little tiny dongle that fits into your PC or plugs into the charging base. And there's a convenient little dock there. You'll notice the white PTFE ultra slick feet, as well as a number of other buttons I'll talk to you in a bit. Here you can see the 520 Lightspeed. As I said, you can take this little bottom hatch off, and that also gives you access to an area where you can store the wireless dongle. You can see there's a little storage area down there. The difference here with this device though is that you also have the ability to adjust the weight. So it's a weight adjustable mouse. It comes with a number of different weights in the box in a little convenient carry case, which means you can customize the weight and feel of this mouse. This isn't something you can do with Basilisk Ultimate, so if you want a bit more customization in terms of weight levels, then you need the G502 is more interesting option and choice. It too has a tiny little wireless dongle that you can see here, as well as this adapter that you can plug in with a micro USB cable. So you don't have to plug it in directly to your PC, you can plug it in with the cable and get it closer to you if your PC is a bit further away or you're worried about the signal getting blocked or anything like that. And then you have a number of different weights to choose from. I went for the big 4-gram weights. You can put 2 of those into that little housing and then install it under the mouse, and you can adjust that and customize it to your preference, or not use them at all. You don't have to use them, but it is a nice addition to have this mouse. Both these mice are very feature rich in terms of the number of features they have, and they're both interesting for that reason. Not only do they have 11 customizable buttons that you can program, both boast an incredible battery life. The G502 Lightspeed says to top out at around 60 hours with lighting turned off and about 48 with it turned on. The Basilisk Ultimate claims 100 hours of the battery life with the lighting turned off. I have not managed to get 100 hours out of it, but mostly been using it with the RGB lighting, because the RGB lighting on the Basilisk Ultimate is superior, and I'll show you that a bit later on. Now, another thing that you'll note underneath is there are multiple buttons here. You have a power button and you have a resistance wheel. I'll show you what that does in a minute. And you have a profile switching button. So the Basilisk Ultimate has the ability to switch between 5 different profiles that can be stored on the mouse itself, and that's that button on the left hand side, the textured one just above the power button. Here you can also see the charging pins and the bold statement about having 20,000 DPI. Now, wheel resistance on the scroll wheel, you can adjust that infinitely according to Razer, which basically means you have this little mini wheel underneath where you can either increase or decrease the resistance, and that increases and decreases the feedback. So you either have this noise and feeling from the mouse wheel where it makes a lot of noise, or you can go completely the other way and make it a much smoother experience. And you can sort of go and adjust that to your preference, because you put the wheel one way and it changes it, so you can keep tweaking it. And it's quite an interesting way of doing it, and it basically allows you to customize the feedback and the feel and the speed at which the scroll wheel moves, which is pretty nifty, and it's a nice addition to have. Don't see it too often on other mice. However, the G502 Lightspeed is the mouse that I saw like 6 months ago, and that has a similar thing, except instead of an infinitely adjustable, you have a button, and the button either makes the mouse wheel spin like this in a very satisfying and nifty way, or it puts it into a resistance mode where it clicks every time you move it. So it's either on or off. There's no in between as there is with the Basilisk Ultimate. However, you cannot do this with the Ultimate. You cannot just set it to spin like a little hamster wheel and then it just keeps going and going, and that obviously gives you a lot faster action for scrolling up and down web pages or using it within games, so you have a lot more options. You'll note the G502 Lightspeed has a bit more of an angry looking setup to it. They're both very pointy mice, but you do have multiple buttons, easy access buttons on the left hand side for your thumb. As I said, these are both right-handed mice and very much for right-handed gamers, but they have a nice bit of thumb rest with an ergonomic textured design to it. Both sit nicely in the hand, and you have access to several buttons with ease. The Basilisk Ultimate has this little multi-function paddle that you can either use or not use, and it has a rubber cover for it if you don't want to use it, and that basically plugs in there, and that's used as default as a sensitivity clutch, but you can adjust all the buttons within Razer's Synapse software and customize that the way you want it. I must say that paddle feels really nice to use. It feels slightly different to a button because you're not pressing the button, you're pressing the edge of it. The mouse clicks also have very satisfying action to them, and if you read the specs you'll learn that the Basilisk Ultimate uses the sort of laser optical click management so that it can make sure you get the most accurate reading of your clicks and you don't suffer from double clicks and other problems. Both of these mice have a sideways clickable mouse as well as the ability to push it in, and that's another way that you can customize the settings and get the most out of it in terms of the number of programmable buttons. And on top of the Basilisk Ultimate, behind the scroll wheel, you have the DPI switching button, so you can go up and down through the DPI levels, and there's 5 customizable ones within the software up to 20,000 DPI. With the G502 Lightspeed, these 2 front top buttons allow you to switch between them, and you'll see there's a little LED indicator to let you know which level you're on, and obviously you set that up within the software and then you know which one you're on. With the Basilisk Ultimate you don't get any indicator apart from when you're in Windows where you have a little pop-up to tell you, but if you're in game and you switch between them you don't know which level you're on, so that could be a problem. I've actually found it a problem because you can't easily adjust, so you don't really know which one you're on easily, whereas you do with the 502 because you've got that LED, you can see it at a glance. As you can see, as I said, it's sideways clickable. On the front bottom left by the thumb you also have a sort of sniper button on the G502 which allows you to drop into an ultra low temporary sensitivity level or DPI level, so that you can have really accurate mouse movements if you're using a sniper rifle in an FPS game, for example. And you can apply the same sort of logic to the buttons on the Basilisk Ultimate, but that's not necessarily the default, or at least not at the same level. And that sort of sniper logic, the high accurate button, I've also seen on Corsair mice, but it's a really nice setup on both these mice to have access to multiple buttons on both fingers, really, or on all your fingers, because you've got the scroll wheel and the DPI buttons. You don't have to use them as that setup, you can change them within the software as well, and you can customize both of these mice. The G502 Lightspeed is a bit more affordable, especially now it's been out a bit longer. It doesn't top out with as much battery life, but it is very customizable and very comfortable and accurate too. The Basilisk Ultimate does have more RGB lighting zones though. It has 14 lighting zones, which sounds a bit bonkers, but within the software, and if you watch the review I did, you'll see you can customize the edge down the edge here above the thumb buttons and the mouse wheel, and that basically splits it into different zones that you can have different colours in different areas of that. So it's pretty crazy. And you also have the charging base station. Here you can see it in action with different colours at one end to the other, and sort of a gradient of colours going between them. Is pretty nuts. So if you want RGB, then the Basilisk Ultimate is for you. Both mice though, fantastic bits of kit, very premium, well worth considering. Please be sure to check out the description for specifications and links to both. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. This has been The Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful, interesting or hilarious. Be sure to subscribe and check out these other videos, as well as taking a look in the description for links and information you might find useful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything you'd like to see extra about this, and have a great life.